The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched far beyond what human eyes could see. Tejo stood at the speaker's platform, his dark suit a small spot of black against the rainbow of alien forms surrounding him. He had practiced this speech for months. Every word mattered. This was humanity's last chance. Honored council members, Tejo began, his voice carrying through the translation devices. Humans have lived peacefully among the stars for 50 years. We have built 12 thriving worlds. We have harmed no one. We ask only for the same rights you give to other species. A sound like grinding metal came from the Valonian section. Chancellor Crixvel rose from his crystal throne, his four arms spreading wide. His translator made his words sound cold and sharp. Humans, Crixvel said, are children playing with fire. You have been in space for barely a moment. The Velen Empire has traveled the stars for 10,000 years. You are not ready. Tejo felt his heart sink, but kept his face calm. We have shown we can build. We can learn. We can contribute to the galaxy's peace. Peace? A new voice came from the floating sphere that housed the crystalline collective speaker. Your species still fights wars on your homeworld. You pollute your oceans. You cannot even unite your own people. More voices joined in. The bird-like Zephyrians clicked their disapproval. The gaseous nebula lords pulsed with negative colors. One by one, every major species in the council spoke against humanity. Tejo tried again. Yes, we have problems, but we are learning. Every species here once made mistakes. Give us time to grow. Chancellor Crixvel's laugh was like breaking glass. Time? You want time? Very well. Here is our offer. He touched a control panel, and words appeared in the air above the hall. Humans will stop all expansion beyond their current 12 worlds. You will not contact other species without council permission. You will not develop any new technology without our approval. You will accept council monitors on all your worlds. Do this, and we will allow you to exist. The hall fell silent. Tejo stared at the words floating above him. It was not an offer. It was a cage. And if we refuse, he asked, then the council will take corrective measures to protect the galaxy from your reckless growth. Tejo knew what that meant. War. A war humanity could not win. He bowed his head. I will take your offer to my people. You have 30 standard days, Crixvel said. Choose wisely. 3 light years away, Jiwan sat in her office on Kepler 442b, watching the council session through a quantum link. Her hands shook as she heard the council's demands. Around her, the colony's communications center buzzed with activity. Other human worlds were receiving the same transmission. The colony outside her window looked peaceful. Families walked along, tree-lined paths. Children played in parks between the dome sections. Farmers tended crops in the vertical gardens. They had built something beautiful here, something worth protecting. Her communication panel blinked. An urgent message from Earth. She opened the channel. The face of Dong Min, Earth's defense minister, appeared on her screen. His expression was grim. Jiwan, we need to talk. Secure channel only. She switched to the military frequency. I saw the council session. This is bad. It's worse than bad, Dong Min said. We've been monitoring their private communications. They never intended to accept us. This was all for show. They want us gone. Gone? Dead? Enslaved? Scattered? It doesn't matter to them. They see us as a threat to their control. Jiwan felt cold. What do we do? We have a plan. It's risky. It means giving up everything we've built with the other species. All our trade agreements, all our diplomatic progress, everything. Tell me. Dong Min leaned forward. Protocol 7. Jiwan's breath caught. She had heard whispers of Protocol 7 in the highest military circles, a last resort plan so secret that only a few dozen people knew it existed. You're serious? Dead serious. In 2 hours, every human settlement, ship, and station will receive the activation signal. We go dark. Complete communication blackout. No transmissions, no responses, no contact with any alien species. As far as the galaxy knows, humanity will simply vanish. For how long? Until we're ready. Ready for what? Dongmin smiled for the first time in weeks. To show them what humans can really do. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Dongmin ended the call with Ji-Wan and turned to his staff. 20 of humanity's best and brightest sat around a table covered with star charts and technical diagrams. Are all the colonies ready? He asked. Bo-Ram, his chief intelligence officer, nodded. Every world has confirmed. The quantum communication network is in place. The hidden relay stations are operational. When we flip the switch, we disappear from their sensors, but stay connected to each other. And the other preparations? Moving according to schedule, said Wu Jin, the lead engineer. The construction projects are ahead of plan. The research programs are showing excellent results. We'll need about 3 years to complete everything. 3 years of being ghosts, Dongmin said. Think we can manage it? The psychological conditioning is working, said Yunji, the project's head scientist. The volunteers are adapting well to the sensory modifications. It's strange at first, but humans are remarkably flexible. Dongmin nodded. Protocol 7 was more than just a communication blackout. It was a complete shift in how humans would interact with the galaxy. They would become invisible to alien perception, existing in the same space, but in a different reality. Sir, Bo-Ram said, are you sure about this? Once we activate Protocol 7, there's no going back. The aliens will think we're dead or gone. They'll move into our space. Let them, Dongmin said. Let them think they've won. When we return, they'll understand their mistake. He looked around the room. These people were gambling with the future of their entire species. But they had no choice. The Council had made it clear that humans would never be accepted as equals. Initiate Protocol 7, he said. Across the galaxy, on 12 human worlds and hundreds of ships, people received the same message. In 2 hours, humanity would go silent. They would become invisible to alien eyes, inaudible to alien ears. They would exist in the shadows, learning and growing and preparing. On Kepler 442b, Ji-Wan gathered her senior staff. She explained what was about to happen. Some were frightened, others were excited. All of them understood that this was their only chance. What about the children? Asked one of her advisors. They'll adapt faster than we will, Ji-Wan said. Children always do. As the countdown reached 0, Ji-Wan looked out at her colony one last time. Tomorrow, alien ships might hover above their cities. Alien soldiers might walk their streets. But they would not see the humans living there. Humanity was about to disappear from the galaxy. But they would not be gone. They would be waiting, learning, preparing. And when they returned, the galaxy would never be the same. 3 years had passed since humanity went silent. In the great hall of the Galactic Council, Irix Thon stood before the assembled species, his report in hand. The tall, blue-skinned alien's voice carried satisfaction as he spoke. Honored Council, I am pleased to report that the human problem has resolved itself. Our long-range sensors show their colonies are abandoned. Their ships have vanished from space. Even their home world shows minimal activity. Chancellor Krixvel leaned forward in his crystal throne. Are you certain they have not simply hidden their technology? Completely certain, Irix Thon replied. We have used every scanning method known to our science. Heat signatures are barely detectable. No electromagnetic emissions, no quantum fluctuations. The humans appear to have either died out or retreated to their primitive home world. A pleased rumble went through the hall. The crystalline collective sphere pulsed with happy colors. The Zephyrians clicked their beaks in approval. After 3 years of worry about what the silent humans might be planning, this was welcome news. Then it is time, Crixvel announced, to reclaim what should have been ours from the beginning. The council quickly divided the former human territories. The Valonians claimed the rich agricultural world of Kepler 442b. The Zephyrians took the industrial centers around Proxima Centauri. The crystalline collective seized the mining worlds in the outer rim. Every valuable human asset was assigned to a new owner. We shall be generous, Crixvel declared. Any humans we find will be relocated to reservation areas on their homeworld. They will be cared for like the children they are, on a hidden relay station drifting in the void between stars. Boram watched the council session through a stolen communication feed. Her small observation post was invisible to alien sensors, surrounded by technology that bent light and energy around it. She shook her head in disgust as the aliens celebrated their imagined victory. If only they knew the truth. If only they could see what was really happening on those abandoned human worlds. Her communication panel chimed softly. A message from Earth appeared on her screen. Boram, this is Dong Min. The first alien ships are approaching Kepler 442b. Are our people ready? She typed back quickly. They've been ready for 2 years. The conditioning program worked better than we hoped. They literally cannot perceive the aliens anymore. And the aliens can't see them? Not unless they know exactly what to look for. To alien eyes, our people exist in a blind spot. Their brains filter us out as background noise. Boram switched to her external cameras and watched as the first Valonian fleet approached Kepler 442b. 12 massive ships armed with enough firepower to level a continent. They expected to find empty cities and dead farms. They were in for a surprise. On the surface of Kepler 442b, Wu Jin walked through the main colony square, carrying supplies to the market. Around him, life continued as it had for 3 years. People shopped, children played, workers maintained the infrastructure. The colony was more prosperous than ever. Above them, invisible to human senses, Valonian transport ships descended through the atmosphere. Wu Jin felt a strange tingling in the air but dismissed it. Sometimes the weather control systems caused odd sensations. He had more important things to worry about, like the new fusion reactor that needed calibration. The first Valonian soldiers materialized in the square, their personal shields shimmering as they appeared. They wore full combat armor and carried weapons designed to stun rather than kill. Their mission was to capture any remaining humans for relocation. Wu Jin walked directly toward them, his arms full of supply containers. The Valonian squad leader raised his weapon and shouted something in his own language. The universal translator on his belt repeated the words in basic galactic standard. "Human, stop! You are ordered to surrender yourself for processing," Wu Jin continued walking. He passed within arm's reach of the squad leader, adjusted his grip on the containers, and kept moving toward the market. To his senses, the Varonians simply did not exist. The squad leader stared in shock. He reached out to grab Wu Jin's shoulder, but the human smoothly stepped aside, as if avoiding an invisible obstacle. The soldier tried again, and again Wu Jin moved away, his path never changing, his destination clear. "Sir," one of the other soldiers said, "it's like he can't see us." Impossible. Humans have the same sensory range we do. But as they watched, more humans moved through the square. Men and women, young and old, all going about their daily business. When a soldier stepped directly in front of them, they would pause, step around the obstacle they couldn't see, and continue on their way. Children ran through the square, playing a game of chase. They weaved between the alien soldiers with perfect precision, never touching them, never acknowledging their presence. It was like watching people navigate around invisible furniture. The squad leader activated his communication device. "Command, we have a situation. The humans are here, but they appear to be unable to detect our presence." Meanwhile, in a coffee shop at the edge of the square, Yunji sat with a cup of tea, reading a book on quantum mechanics. To any alien observer, she looked like an ordinary colonist taking a break from work. In reality, She was one of the architects of humanity's greatest achievement. 3 years ago, she had been Dr. Yoon-ji Park, xenobiologist and specialist in interspecies communication. She had spent her career studying how different species perceived reality. When Protocol 7 was activated, her research became the foundation of humanity's survival strategy. The process had taken months to perfect. Using a combination of neural conditioning, sensory modification, and collective meditation techniques, humans had learned to shift their consciousness into a parallel perceptual framework. They existed in the same physical space as the aliens, but in a completely different sensory reality. It was not invisibility in the traditional sense. Humans were still physically present, still interacted with their environment. But their brains had learned to filter alien presence out of their awareness, while alien brains did the same to them. Yoon-ji sipped her tea and watched through the window as Valonian soldiers tried desperately to get the attention of colonists, who literally could not see them. The aliens could detect human life signs, could see the effects of human activity, but could not make direct contact with the humans themselves. Her communication implant buzzed softly, a message from the hidden network that connected all human worlds. Yoon-ji, this is Ji-won. The Varonians are getting frustrated. They're trying to use loudspeakers and bright lights to get our attention. Yoon-ji smiled. Let them try. We exist in a different acoustic and visual spectrum now. Their efforts will only exhaust them. How long can we maintain this? As long as necessary. The conditioning is permanent unless deliberately reversed. We could live this way forever if we had to. But Yoon-ji knew they wouldn't have to. The perceptual shift was only the first phase of humanity's plan. While the aliens thought they had won, humans were learning. Every alien ship that entered human space was studied. Every piece of alien technology was analyzed and improved upon. In 3 years of being invisible, humanity had made advances that normally would have taken centuries. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on every former human world. Alien fleets arrived expecting to find empty planets and instead found thriving colonies that existed just beyond their perception. Frustrated alien commanders filed increasingly confused reports about ghost settlements and phantom populations. The Council dismissed these reports as the imagination of nervous soldiers. After all, their sensors clearly showed minimal human activity. The idea that an entire species could simply phase out of detectability was absurd. But on the hidden relay, stations scattered throughout space, Bo-Ram and her colleagues watched everything. They recorded alien technology, monitored alien communications, and gathered intelligence that would soon prove invaluable. As she watched the Valonian commander on Kepler 442b grow more frustrated by the hour, Bo-Ram couldn't help but smile. The aliens thought they had won. They had no idea that the real game was just beginning. Humanity had learned to be invisible. Soon, they would learn to be unstoppable. Insu walked through the atmospheric processing plant on Kepler 442b, his toolkit in hand. The main filtration unit was making strange noises again, and someone needed to fix it before the air quality dropped. As the colony's chief engineer, that someone was him. He moved through the corridors with practiced ease, heading toward the main processing chamber. The facility was one of the most important on the planet, keeping the air breathable for 50,000 colonists. What Insu didn't know was that he was not alone. A squad of Valonian soldiers had been stationed in the processing plant for 2 weeks. They were part of the occupation force that was supposed to be securing human infrastructure. Instead, they had spent their time watching in growing amazement as humans continued to operate the facility around them. "There he is again," whispered Sergeant Vexmar to his squad. The one they call the engineer. Insu approached the main filtration unit, which was surrounded by Valonian monitoring equipment. The aliens had set up their own atmospheric sensors, trying to understand how human technology worked. Their bulky machines blocked the normal maintenance path. Insu paused for a moment, then stepped to the left. He moved around something that wasn't there, at least not in his perception. His path took him in a perfect curve around the alien equipment, never touching it, never acknowledging its existence. "How does he do that?" Vexmar asked. "He moved around our scanner array like he could see it." "Maybe he can," suggested another soldier. "Maybe they're pretending not to see us." "No," Vexmar said. "Watch his eyes. He's not looking at us. He's looking through us." Insu reached the filtration unit and opened his toolkit. He began removing the access panel, his movements sure and confident. Behind him, a Valonian scientist was examining the same piece of equipment with handheld sensors. The scientist stepped closer, trying to see what Insu was doing. As he moved, Insu shifted slightly to the side, giving himself more room to work. The movement was so natural, so perfectly timed, that it looked like a dance. "It's like he knows where we are without seeing us," the scientist muttered. Insu reached into the machine and pulled out a damaged filter component. As he did, his elbow passed within inches of the Valonian scientist's head. The alien ducked reflexively, but Insu's arm continued its motion without pause, as if the space had always been empty. "This is impossible," Vexmar said. "He's interacting with us without knowing we're here." The truth was more complex than the Varonians could understand. Insu's brain had been trained to recognize patterns in air pressure, electromagnetic fields, and gravitational disturbances. His subconscious mind could detect the presence of large objects or beings, even if his conscious mind couldn't perceive them directly. It was like how a person could walk through a dark room without bumping into furniture, using senses they weren't consciously aware of. But humans had developed this ability to an extraordinary degree. Insu installed a new filter and began checking the system's performance. His movements were fluid and efficient, taking him around obstacles that he couldn't see but somehow knew were there. "Sir," one of the soldiers said to Vexmar, "should we try to communicate with him again?" Vexmar shook his head. "Central Command wants us to observe only. They're trying to understand this phenomenon before taking action." 3-star systems away, on the Council's intelligence station orbiting Nexus Prime, Director Coolnash studied the latest reports from occupied human worlds. His 4 eyes moved quickly across the data streams, and what he saw made no sense. "Impossible," he muttered, his translator making the words sound harsh and clicking. His aide, a young Zephyrian named Click Whistle, approached nervously. "Sir? Is there a problem with the reports?" "Every human world tells the same story," Coolnash said. "Our forces can observe the humans but cannot interact with them. The humans continue their daily activities as if our people don't exist. Perhaps they're using some kind of perception filter? We've scanned for every known cloaking technology. Nothing. We've tried every communication frequency. Nothing. We've used pheromone dispensers, sound wave generators, even physical contact. The humans simply don't respond." Coolnash brought up a video feed from the Proxima Centauri mining station. On the screen, human miners worked alongside massive Zephyrian excavation machines. The humans moved through the worksite with perfect efficiency, somehow never interfering with the alien equipment, but never acknowledging it either. "Look at this," he said, pointing to the screen. "The human on the left is operating a plasma cutter. The Zephyrian harvester is moving a load of rare metals. They're working in the same space at the same time, but they might as well be in different universes." Click Whistle studied the video. Could they be in different universes? Some kind of dimensional phase shift? I thought of that. We've run every dimensional scanner in our inventory. The humans register as being in normal space-time. They're right there, but somehow also not there. On the screen, a human supervisor walked directly through the path of a moving Zephyrian transport. At the last second, both beings shifted slightly, avoiding collision without ever looking at each other. "It's like they're experiencing reality, on a completely different level," Coolnash said. "But that should be impossible. Humans use the same 5 senses we do. What Kulnash didn't know was that Yunji had spent 3 years perfecting humanity's greatest achievement. In her laboratory beneath the surface of Kepler 442b, she monitored the neural patterns of every human in the colony. The process had been dangerous at first. Early volunteers had experienced disorientation, memory loss, and temporary paralysis. But Yunji had refined the technique, learning to adjust human brain chemistry with surgical precision. The key, she had explained to her research team, is not to block perception, but to redirect it. We're not making ourselves invisible. We're training our brains to perceive reality from a different angle. The human brain was remarkably adaptable. With the right combination of neural conditioning and sensory training, it could learn to filter out entire categories of stimuli while remaining perfectly functional in all other ways. We're not changing what we can see, Yunji had said. We're changing what we choose to see. The result was that humans and aliens now existed in overlapping but separate perceptual frameworks. They shared the same physical space but experienced completely different versions of reality. On Kepler 442b, Wu Jin finished his maintenance work on the atmospheric processor and gathered his tools. Around him, Valonian soldiers watched in fascination as he prepared to leave. "He's heading for the exit," Vexmar reported to his commander. "Should we follow him?" "Maintain observation," came the reply. "Do not interfere unless he threatens council equipment." Wu Jin walked toward the facilities. Main exit. The doorway was partially blocked by a Valonian communication array that the aliens had installed to monitor human activities. As he approached, Wu Jin slowed slightly. His path shifted to accommodate something he couldn't see. He moved through the narrow space beside the alien equipment with millimeter precision, never touching it, never acknowledging it, but somehow never colliding with it either. "How?" Vexmar whispered. "How does he know?" The answer was something the Veronians couldn't imagine. Humans had learned to perceive the world through quantum fluctuations, gravitational disturbances, and electromagnetic signatures. They could sense the presence of matter and energy without seeing it directly. It was like echolocation, but using senses that most species didn't even know existed. As Wu Jin disappeared down the corridor, Vexmar made a decision. "Squad, pack up the equipment. We're returning to base." "Sir, our orders were to monitor the facility." "How do you monitor something that doesn't know you exist?" Vexmar asked. "This is beyond our training. Command needs to send specialists." But no amount of specialists would solve the Council's problem. 3 years of careful preparation had transformed humanity into something unprecedented in galactic history. They had become a species that existed in plain sight, but beyond detection. And they were just getting started. Back in her laboratory, Yunji reviewed the day's data. Every human on Kepler 442b was adapting perfectly to their new perceptual framework. Better yet, they were beginning to develop additional abilities. Some humans were starting to perceive quantum energy patterns. Others could sense gravitational fields with extraordinary precision. A few had even begun to detect the thought patterns of other humans across vast distances. Humanity wasn't just hiding from the aliens. They were evolving into something entirely new. "Phase 1 is complete," Yunji reported to the hidden network. "All human colonies are operating in perceptual phase shift. The aliens cannot detect or interact with us." "What about Phase 2? Came the reply from Earth. Yunji smiled. "Phase 2 begins tomorrow. It's time to show these aliens what humans can really do." The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going for 6 hours. Chancellor Krix Vel stood at the center of the Great Hall, his 4 arms gesturing angrily as he spoke. Around him, representatives from dozens of species listened with growing unease. 3 years! Krix Vel shouted. 3 years we have tried to understand this human phenomenon. 3 years of failure! Director Kulnash stepped forward with his latest report. "Chancellor, our scientists have exhausted every theory. The humans appear to exist in a state we cannot comprehend. We can observe them, but we cannot communicate with them or influence their behavior in any way. They are mocking us, hissed the crystalline collective speaker. They pretend not to see us while they go about their lives as if they own those worlds. The Zephyrian delegate clicked his beak in agreement. Our mining operations are being disrupted. Human workers interfere with our equipment without seeming to know we exist. Production has dropped by 60%. Worse, added the Nebula Lord's representative, their population is growing. Despite our occupation, they continue to build, to reproduce, to expand their settlements. Krixvel's eyes burned with anger. They dare to ignore the will of the Council. They treat our authority as if it means nothing. A new voice spoke from the back of the hall. Admiral Thex Prime of the Valonian Defense Force stepped into the light. His scarred face showed years of military service, and his voice carried the weight of experience. Chancellor, I request permission to address the Council. Speak. I have commanded fleets for 4 decades. I have conquered 17 worlds and subdued 11 rebellions. But I have never seen anything like this. He paused, looking around the hall. The humans have not attacked us. They have not threatened us. They have simply dismissed us. They act as if we don't exist. Your point. Admiral, my point is that this may be more dangerous than any weapon they could have built. They have found a way to make our authority meaningless. If other species learn of this, if they discover that the Council can be simply ignored, a worried murmur ran through the hall. The Admiral was right. The Council's power depended on the belief that their authority was absolute. If word spread that humans had found a way to exist outside that authority, it could inspire rebellions across the galaxy. Krixvel raised his hand for silence. The Admiral speaks wisdom. This human defiance cannot be allowed to continue. They must be brought to heel. How? Asked the Crystalline Collective. We cannot even speak to them. Then we will speak in a language they cannot ignore. Krixvel touched a control panel, and a hologram appeared in the center of the hall. It showed a massive device, sleek and silver, shaped like a spear point. Energy crackled along its surface. The Stellar Cascade Weapon, Krixvel announced. Built by the ancient Vex Empire before they transcended physical existence. Capable of destabilizing a star and destroying an entire solar system. The hall fell silent. The Stellar Cascade Weapon was legendary, a device so powerful that its very existence was kept secret from most of the galaxy. It had been used only once, to eliminate a species that had threatened to upset the balance of power among the great empires. You cannot be serious, whispered the Zephyrian delegate. I am perfectly serious. If we cannot rule the humans, we will eliminate them. We begin with their solar system. Earth and its sun will be destroyed. When the other human colonies see what happens to those who defy the Council, they will surrender. Chancellor, Admiral Thex Prime said carefully, such an action would be extreme. Genocide has not been the Council's way for millennia. The Council's way has been challenged, Krixvel replied. We must respond with overwhelming force, or risk losing control of the galaxy. The debate that followed was fierce but brief. Some species argued for more time, more study, more attempts at communication, but fear won out over caution. The Council voted, and the decision was made. The Stellar Cascade Weapon would be moved to Earth's solar system. Humanity would have one final chance to surrender. If they continued their defiance, their home star would be destroyed. Light years away, in the hidden command center beneath Earth's Atlantic Ocean, Hyunwoo watched the Council session through stolen communication feeds. As Earth's Shadow Admiral, he had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. Sir, his aide Minjun said, the weapon is already moving. Our deep space monitors detected its launch 30 minutes ago. Hyunwoo nodded grimly. How long until it reaches our solar system? 6 days at maximum speed. And how long to prepare our response? We can be ready in 4. Hyun-woo activated the emergency communication network that connected all human worlds. For the first time in 3 years, humanity would break its silence. But they would speak only to each other. All stations, this is Earth Command. Protocol 7 has served its purpose. Prepare to initiate Protocol 8. On Kepler 442b, So-young received the message in her underground laboratory. As humanity's leading physicist and the architect of their technological revolution, she had been waiting for this moment. 3 years of invisible existence had given her access to alien technology that humans could never have obtained through diplomacy or trade. Every alien ship, every piece of equipment, every quantum signature had been studied, analyzed, and improved upon. Beginning final preparations, she transmitted back to Earth. The new ships are ready. The defense grid is operational. All weapons are charged and targeted. Her laboratory was vast, carved from the solid rock beneath the colony. Hundreds of human technicians worked at stations that gleamed with technology far beyond anything the Council possessed. They had taken alien designs and transformed them into something unprecedented. "Ma'am," one of her assistants said, "the quantum drives are showing full power. We can maintain phase shift indefinitely now." "Good. What about the new detection systems?" "We can track every alien ship within 100 light years. They have no idea we're watching them." "So," Young smiled. "The aliens thought humans had simply learned to hide. They had no idea that humanity had spent 3 years building the most advanced civilization in galactic history. Open a channel to all human worlds," she ordered. "It's time to let them know what they're really dealing with." On Earth, Hyun-woo stood before a massive display screen showing the location of every human ship and station. What the aliens saw as empty space was actually filled with thousands of vessels that existed in phase shift, invisible to alien sensors, but fully functional. "Admiral," Minjun said, "we're receiving reports from all colonies. Everyone is ready." "Any word from the deep space observation posts?" "Boram confirms that the stellar cascade weapon is approaching on schedule. The Council believes they're about to win a great victory." Hyun-woo's expression was grim. "They have no idea what they've unleashed. For 3 years, we've let them think we were weak. We've let them think we were hiding. Now they'll learn the truth." He opened a communication channel to all human commanders. "This is Admiral Hyun-woo. In 3 days, the Council will attempt to destroy our home system. This is exactly what we've been waiting for. When they see what humans have become, when they understand what we've built while they thought we were defeated, they'll realize their mistake." "Sir," Minjun asked, "what about the colonists? The civilians?" "They'll be safe. Phase shift technology will protect them from the weapon's effects. But the aliens don't know that. They think they're about to commit genocide." Hyun-woo turned to look at the display screen again. Icons representing human ships filled the space around Earth, all invisible to alien detection. In 3 days, those ships would reveal themselves to the galaxy. "The Council wants to show us their power," he said. "It's time to show them ours." On the hidden relay station where Boram had watched the galaxy for 3 years, alarms were beginning to sound. The stellar cascade weapon was approaching Earth's solar system, and its energy signature was unmistakable. "Earth Command, this is Observer Station 7, she transmitted. "The weapon will be in position in 72 hours. Recommend all civilians move to protected areas." "Acknowledged," came Hyun-woo's reply. "Boram, you've done excellent work. When this is over, the galaxy will never be the same." Boram looked out at the stars through her station's viewing port. 3 years ago, humanity had been dismissed as primitive and weak. In 3 days, they would reveal that they had become the most advanced species in the galaxy. The Council thought they were about to destroy Earth. Instead, they were about to witness the birth of a new galactic power. "Let them come," Boram whispered. "Let them see what humans can do." The stellar cascade weapon hung in space like a silver needle pointed at Earth's sun. From the bridge of the Valonian command ship, Chancellor Krixvel watched the final preparations with satisfaction. In 6 hours, the device would fire, and the human problem would be solved forever. "Admiral Thex Prime," he said, "open a communication channel to all human worlds. They deserve one final chance to surrender." The Admiral activated the communication array and broadcast on all frequencies. "Humans of Earth and the 12 colonies, this is the Galactic Council. You have ignored our authority for 3 years. Now you will face the consequences. Surrender immediately or watch your home star die." The message echoed across space, reaching every human settlement. But there was no response. The humans remained as silent as they had for 3 years. "They still refuse to acknowledge us," Krixvel growled. "Very well. Begin the firing sequence." On Earth, in the command center beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Minho stood before a control panel that had taken 3 years to build. As Earth's communication director, he held the key to humanity's greatest secret. "Sir," his technician said, "the alien weapon is charging. We have approximately 6 hours." "Perfect timing," Minho replied. "Signal all human worlds. Begin the Great Awakening." His fingers moved across the control panel, sending a coded signal to every human settlement in the galaxy. The message was simple: phase shift deactivation in 60 seconds. On Kepler 442b, Su-Jin felt the signal pulse through her neural implant. Around her, 50,000 colonists received the same message. For 3 years, they had existed in a state of perceptual isolation, unable to see or interact with the alien occupiers of their world. In 60 seconds, that would change. Su-Jin looked around the colony square where she stood. To her phase-shifted senses, it appeared normal and peaceful. Families walked along the paths, children played in the gardens, workers went about their daily tasks. But she knew that invisible to her were thousands of alien soldiers, scientists, and administrators who had been trying to control her world for 3 years. 10 seconds, she whispered to herself, counting down. Around the galaxy, on 12 human worlds and hundreds of hidden stations, 8 billion people prepared for the same moment. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The change was instant and overwhelming. Suddenly, Su-Jin could see them. Valonian soldiers standing in the square, their weapons drawn, their faces shocked. Alien vehicles parked along the streets, monitoring equipment scattered throughout the colony. But more than that, she could see the human ships. Above Kepler 442b's atmosphere, what had appeared to be empty space now revealed itself to be filled, with sleek vessels unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships that combined the best of alien technology with human innovation, powered by quantum drives that could fold space itself. "My God," breathed one of the Valonian soldiers in the square. Where did they all come from? Across the galaxy, the same scene played out on every human world. Aliens who thought they had been observing empty settlements suddenly found themselves surrounded by thriving colonies and protected by vast fleets. On Earth, Admiral Hyun Woo stood on the observation deck of humanity's flagship, the vessel that would soon be known as the Dawn of Terra. Around him, the space near Earth filled with ships as the human fleet revealed itself. "Admiral," his aide reported, "all vessels are reporting successful phase shift deactivation. The fleet is at full operational status." "How many ships total?" 15,000 combat vessels, 5,000 support ships, and 3,000 exploration craft, all equipped with quantum drives and phase shift capability. Hyunwoo nodded. For 3 years, while the aliens thought humans were hiding or dying, they had been building the most advanced space fleet in galactic history. "Open a channel to the Valonian command ship," he ordered. For the first time in 3 years, a human voice spoke to the Galactic Council. This is Admiral Hyun-woo of the Terra Defense Force. Chancellor Crix Vel, you wanted to see what humans could become. Now you know. On the bridge of the Valonian command ship, chaos erupted. Alien crew members stared at their sensors in disbelief, as thousands of human ships appeared around them. "Impossible!" Crix Vel shouted. "Our sensors showed empty space!" "Sir," the ship's science officer reported, "these vessels are equipped with technology we've never seen before. Quantum phase generators, dimensional fold drives, weapons that appear to channel pure energy." Admiral Thex Prime studied the tactical display with growing amazement. "Chancellor, look at their formation. They're not attacking. They're just existing." He was right. The human fleet had appeared suddenly, but they made no aggressive moves. They simply surrounded the Council forces, their presence radiating. Power that made the aliens' weapons seem primitive by comparison. "This is Admiral Hyun-woo," the human voice continued. "We have no desire for conflict, but we will no longer be ignored." Crix Vel activated his communication system. "How? How did you hide an entire fleet from our sensors?" "We didn't hide," Hyun-woo replied. "We evolved. While you thought we were defeated, we were learning. Every alien ship that entered our space, every piece of technology you brought to our worlds, we studied it, we improved it, we made it better." On Kepler 442b, Jae-sung looked up at the sky, where human and alien ships now faced each other. As the colony's defense coordinator, he had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. "Citizens," he announced over the colony's communication system, "you may see alien beings among you. Do not be afraid. They cannot harm you. We are protected by technology they cannot understand." Indeed, the Valonian soldiers in the square were discovering that their weapons had no effect on the humans. Energy beams passed harmlessly through human bodies, as if they existed in slightly different dimensions. "Sir," one soldier reported to his commander, "our weapons are useless. The humans appear to be phase-shifted just enough to avoid damage." But the soldiers weren't prepared for what happened next. Human security forces began to appear throughout the colony, materializing from what seemed like empty air. They were armed with weapons that hummed with contained energy. "Attention, Valonian forces," announced the human security chief. "You are trespassing on sovereign human territory. You have 60 seconds to return to your ships and leave our world." We are the occupation force," the Valonian commander stammered. "This world belongs to the Council now." "No," the human replied simply. "It doesn't." Back in Earth's solar system, the standoff continued. The stellar cascade weapon remained aimed at the sun, but the massive human fleet surrounded it completely. "Chancellor," Admiral Thex Prime said quietly, "we should withdraw. We are completely outmatched." But Crix Vel's pride would not allow retreat. "Fire the weapon, destroy their star, show them the power of the Council. Sir, if we fire now, their ships could retaliate. We'd be destroyed. Fire!" The stellar cascade weapon began to charge, its energy building toward the critical point. But as it did, something extraordinary happened. The human ships began to sing. It started as a low harmonic, frequency barely detectable, but it grew stronger, more complex, as thousands of vessels added their voices to the chorus. The sound was unlike anything the aliens had ever heard, a symphony of pure energy that seemed to resonate through space itself. "What are they doing?" Crix Vel demanded. On the bridge of the Dawn of Terra, Admiral Hyun-woo smiled. "Something you could never imagine. They're harmonizing reality itself. The human ships weren't just singing. They were using their quantum drives to create a resonance field that extended across the entire solar system. Within that field, the laws of physics operated according to human will." "Chancellor," Admiral Hyun-woo's voice said calmly, "your weapon cannot fire. We have created a quantum null zone around it. The energy will simply dissipate harmlessly. Crix Vel watched in horror as the stellar cascade weapon's energy readings dropped to 0. The device that could destroy stars had been rendered as harmless as a child's toy. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No," Hyunwoo replied. "This is evolution. This is what happens when you force a species to grow beyond your understanding." Around the galaxy, alien forces were discovering the same thing. Human colonies that had seemed defenseless were now protected by technology that made their weapons useless. Human fleets that had been invisible were now revealing themselves to be the most advanced in galactic history. Chancellor Crix Vel, Admiral Hyunwoo said, "You wanted to teach humans their place in the galaxy. Consider the lesson learned, but perhaps it's time for you to learn yours." The age of alien dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. 6 months after the Great Awakening, the galaxy was a very different place. In the rebuilt chambers of what was now called the Galactic Assembly, Hae-jin stood before representatives from hundreds of species. Gone were the crystal thrones and elevated platforms that had once shown the dominance of the old council. Now, all beings sat as equals. Hae-jin wore simple clothes, not the elaborate robes that the old council members had favored. As humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Assembly, she represented a species that had shocked the galaxy by choosing cooperation over conquest. "Friends," she began, her voice carried by translation devices to every being in the hall. 6 months ago, many of you feared that humans would use our new abilities to dominate the galaxy as the old council once did. I am here to tell you that was never our intention. In the front row, former Chancellor Crix Vel sat with his 4 hands folded in his lap. His crystal throne had been replaced with a simple chair, and his elaborate robes with plain gray clothing. The defeat of the stellar cascade weapon had broken more than just Valonian military power. It had shattered their belief in their own superiority. Humans could have taken control of this galaxy by force. Hae-jin continued. Our technology is advanced enough to make resistance impossible. Instead, we choose to offer something different. We offer evolution. She gestured to a holographic display that showed a human brain, its neural pathways glowing with activity. 3 years ago, humans learned to perceive reality from a new perspective. We discovered that consciousness itself can be expanded. That awareness can be shifted to higher levels of existence. A Zephyrian delegate clicked his beak nervously. "Ambassador Hae-jin, what exactly are you offering?" "We're offering to teach any species that wishes to learn how to expand their consciousness beyond physical limitations. You can remain as you are, and we will respect that choice. Or you can join us in exploring what lies beyond the boundaries of normal perception." Young Soo, sitting in the diplomatic section, smiled as he watched the proceedings. As humanity's first dimensional ambassador, he had spent months preparing for this moment. He could perceive things that most beings in the hall could not imagine, energy patterns that connected all living things, quantum fluctuations that revealed the hidden structure of reality, dimensions that existed beyond the normal 3. "The process is voluntary," Hae-jin explained. "We force no one to change. But for those who choose to learn, we can teach you to see the universe as we now see it." "And what do you see?" asked the representative from the Crystalline Collective. Hae-jin paused, searching for words to describe something that existed beyond normal language. "We see that all consciousness is connected. We see that the barriers between species, between individuals, between dimensions, are not real boundaries but simply limitations in perception." She activated another holographic display, this one showing the galaxy itself. But instead of stars and planets, it showed flows of energy, patterns of consciousness, connections that linked every living being. This is what the universe actually looks like when you expand your awareness beyond physical senses. Every species, every individual, every thought and emotion creates ripples in the fabric of reality itself. Former Chancellor Krixvel raised one of his hands. "Ambassador, may I speak?" Hyejin nodded. "Of course." Krixvel stood slowly, his movements showing the humility that had replaced his former arrogance. "6 months ago, I tried to destroy your species because I feared you would take our power away. I was right to fear, but wrong about what you would take." He looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of delegates from dozens of worlds. "You didn't take our power. You showed us that what we thought was power was actually weakness, the ability to destroy, to dominate, to control. These things are nothing compared to the ability to transcend." "You are welcome to learn with us," Hyejin said gently. "The path of consciousness expansion is open to all beings." I would like to try," Krixvel said, "if you will teach me." It was a moment that would have been impossible under the old council. The former supreme leader of the galaxy asking to learn from the species he had tried to exterminate. On Earth, in what had once been the hidden command center, Danby sat in a meditation chamber surrounded by displays showing energy patterns from across the galaxy. At 12 years old, she was among the first generation of humans to be born after the Great Awakening. Her consciousness had never known the limitations that older humans had learned to overcome. "Instructor Youngsu," she said, speaking to his image on the communication screen, "I'm detecting something unusual." Youngsu's face appeared more clearly as he focused his attention on her. "What do you see, Danby?" "There are beings watching us. Not from this galaxy, but from somewhere else, somewhere higher." Youngsu nodded. He had sensed them, too. Consciousnesses so advanced that they existed beyond physical form entirely. "They've been watching the galaxy's development for a very long time. They're interested in what's happening here. Should we be worried? No. They're not like the old council. They don't want to control or dominate. They're just curious. They want to see what happens when an entire galaxy learns to transcend its limitations." Back in the assembly hall, the session was coming to an end. Species after species had volunteered to participate in humanity's consciousness expansion program. The Zephyrians wanted to learn to perceive quantum music. The Crystalline Collective hoped to understand the energy patterns that connected all matter. Even some of the Valonians had asked to begin the training. "There is one more thing," Hyejin announced. "We are not the only beings in the universe who have learned to expand consciousness. There are others much more advanced than we are who exist in dimensions we are only beginning to understand." The hall fell silent. The idea that there were beings even more advanced than humans was both thrilling and terrifying. "They have been watching our galaxy for eons," Hyejin continued. "Not to control us, but to see if we would eventually learn to grow beyond our limitations." Our success here. This gathering of species choosing cooperation over conflict, choosing growth over stagnation. This is what they have been waiting to see. Youngsu stepped forward to stand beside Hyejin. "Some of us have already made contact with these beings. They have much to teach us, and they are willing to guide our galaxy's development if we prove worthy." "How do we prove worthy?" asked the Zephyrian delegate. "By doing exactly what we're doing now," Youngsu replied. "By choosing unity over division, wisdom over power, transcendence over domination." As the assembly session ended, delegates from dozens of worlds approached the human representatives, eager to begin the consciousness expansion process. The old fears and prejudices were being replaced by curiosity and hope. On Kepler 442b, Wu Jin walked through the same colony square where Valonian soldiers had once tried unsuccessfully to capture him. Now, those same soldiers worked alongside human technicians, learning to perceive reality from new perspectives. Their weapons had been replaced with tools for building and creating. "It's amazing," one of the former soldiers said to Wu Jin. I can see energy patterns I never knew existed. The whole universe is alive with connections I couldn't perceive before. Wu Jin smiled. That's just the beginning. Wait until you learn to communicate directly through consciousness. Words become unnecessary when you can share thoughts and emotions directly. The transformation was happening across the galaxy. Species that had been enemies for millennia were discovering that their conflicts had been based on limited perceptions of reality. When consciousness expanded beyond physical boundaries, the reasons for war simply disappeared. In her laboratory on Kepler 442b, Yunji monitored the consciousness patterns of beings across multiple star systems. The network of expanded awareness was growing daily, connecting more and more individuals in a web of shared understanding. The old galaxy is dying, she reported to the human network. The galaxy of separate species, competing for resources, fighting over territory. It's being replaced by something entirely new. What's replacing it? Asked a voice from Earth. A galactic consciousness, Unji replied. Not a hive mind where individuality is lost, but a collective awareness where every being maintains their unique perspective while sharing in the wisdom of all others. On the observation deck of the Dawn of Terra, Admiral Haiyan Wu looked out at a galaxy that bore no resemblance to the one humans had first encountered. Ships from dozens of species moved freely through space, their crews working together on projects that would have been impossible under the old council system. Sir, his aide reported, we're receiving a transmission from the beings in higher dimensions. Put it through. The voice that spoke had no words, but its meaning was clear to anyone whose consciousness had been expanded. It carried congratulations, approval, and an invitation. Well done, the meaning conveyed. Your galaxy has taken its first steps into true civilization. We invite you to join the greater community of transcended species. There is much to learn and much to explore. Admiral Hyunwoo smiled. 3 years ago, humans had been rejected by a galactic council that saw them as primitive and worthless. Now they were being invited to join beings so advanced that they existed beyond physical form.